Gross Play!
Ladies and gentlemen, the video is about Cocoon now.
That's an inside joke.
That might be the fastest Mitch Show reference in a Bros Play episode. I usually try to not bring it up myself, just because it's more fun when other people do it. But
Other people meaning me?
yes.
Okay.
But, you know, sometimes you just... I mean, it was a good opportunity. I didn't think you were going to say it, so...
You know what? I really enjoyed that the video did just keep... It was like, you know what? No. Now it's about this.
That was
sure.
the idea.
It's always about the same thing, but no.
I was like,
now
I'm
it's
not
about this.
I'm not writing a fancy transition between ideas.
Where the fuck is the tutorial?
That's good stuff.
Okay, let's see.
I'm probably going to link this in the video.
Oh, you definitely
So,
should.
hey, hello, everybody. People from the Mitch Show.
Oh my god, they stopped our path backwards.
Blessed be the frogman, apparently, according to other people.
I like that. Blessed be the frog.
That's what some people say, yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, I was really happy. The whole point of the frog was to allow the audience to connect with me. Also, like, you know, slapstick comedy and that kind of stuff. But I wanted the audience to connect with my voice in a different way, but not put myself out there. And the amount of people who were more fixated on the frog than on the fact that there was a man pretending to be a frog was really cool. Because I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, like people are not even considering that I'm not really a frog. Some people are just like, Frogman funny. And I'm like, I like you.
Well, if you've done it well, there is a suspension of disbelief, right?
Well, I believed when I was making it, I wasn't sure.
Whoa.
I was like, it feels mismatched. And then we watched Super Mario movie with Jack Black and Chris Pratt. And I was like, oh, the mouths aren't perfectly synced, but I believe it. In fact,
Yeah.
like characters like Bowser pose a real problem with his mouth, because his mouth doesn't. It's not like a human's mouth. It doesn't, like, if they made it close as often as it should, I don't think it would look right.
It would look too fast.
So his mouth stays open a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's something there where there's a certain speed at which you can register those types of things. And if you zoom in, right, like real close, you get up so close that, you know, you'll hurt your vision, you could probably see some of that stuff. But for the casual, like, observer, I don't think it really matters, honestly.
No, and that actually made me feel really good about it. I also pulled some interesting inspirations from my boy Vince Gilligan,
Really?
who did Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Yeah, the opening scene where I burst out of the green screen or the blue screen,
Yeah.
that was right from a Better Call Saul commercial. And he just busts out of the green screen and he's like, "Hi, have you been injured?" or something, whatever it is that he says.
It's a great idea.
And there's a reason why that actually looks like there was supposed to be a thing before it, is because there was. It wasn't supposed to just start with that. It was supposed to be something else. And then when you think the video's slowing down, I bust out of it and be like, "Hey, I'm Mitch." But, you know, just writes and rewrites. And
Well, you also have to remember that as somebody who's been there since the process started, you have a different perspective on, you know, seeing it from before it was sort of refined, and you associate that, right? I think you actually used a sentence that perfectly sums it up, which is basically to say it's impossible to see something in the proper context when you are so close to it. Right? You spent years developing this thing. You know it intimately, right?
Uncomfortable familiarity.
That's what you said, yes.
So there was a version, well, I mean, obviously there's a first version of that video, which I've put in the
I lost my ball.
There's a first version of that video called My Thesis on How Video Games Should Teach the Player. Very boring title. And didn't do very well. Working on a video after it, and I'm like, I feel like something needs to be added to Mitch Show. I think it needs to move forward somehow. I was feeling unchallenged, and at the same time, also not getting a response. It's like, it's okay if one of those things is true, but not both of them. So I wanted to do the animation, and I wanted to do for the video I was working on, but I thought, you know what, as a test, let's redo, kind of refine that original video about Dead Space 2, and then put the animated frog in there somewhere, and basically make it like a test. And you may have to continue guiding the ball.
I thought it was supposed to go to this hole.
The ball.
You know what? These big like openings remind me of something from like a Dr. Seuss story. You know, like they put the Gnolta ball in this funnel and it goes down. Yeah, it goes down the spinel.
The spoodle hole. And then the spoodle hole reaches out to the Schnarbly.
Okay, I see. There we go. Yeah. Well, and I've experienced the same thing because I've built programs in the past, and there's this thing where people go, oh, how do you access this option? And you tell them, oh, well, all you have to do is this and that, and you think, well, this is why we have to play test stuff because it like the back of your hand, like it's nothing, right? But then the question is it clear? Like one thing I had to do early on was people can define all these codes. So sometimes you have like 40 codes and you could be a struggle to remember what they are. And so I said, I'll just have like a little preview menu. It'll show you all the codes. Like that seems like it makes sense. But then later I instituted it that if you type out a valid code, it changes color.
Oh.
So all of a sudden you don't really need that
That's intuitive though, bro.
It's so, man, visual clarity is one of the greatest terms into in regards of like the things that you've ever explained that I think have made a big difference in my life is just it's more important in my mind to have good visual clarity than to have written instructions.
Yes.
People are intuitive, like surprisingly intuitive as long as the mechanism is there.
Look at right now you're solving this puzzle while you explain other things. Like humans have a lot of problem solving abilities in their head.
Well, but I'm also just fucking sick, bro. So like, you gotta remember that.
Oh, so yeah, you're sick, nasty. I thought you were sick, like you had a cold, and I'm like, I didn't even hear that.
No, I have a brain disease. You should know this.
I've been listening to so few podcasts.
What the?
That I've been listening to this one Joe episode with Curry, Adam Curry, and I've been listening to the single episode over like a week and a half, and Joe is sick. So for me, he's just been sick forever, and I keep forgetting.
For months.
I'm like, why are you still sick, bro? I thought you were like a healthy guy.
He didn't take his ivermectin.
Didn't you get like? Didn't they try to pound you into the ground because you got sick or you got healed too quickly?
Oh my god!
But back to my point there. The point of that was it was a test. I already have a video. I feel like it needs refinement. So let's just add the frog. How hard could it be? Well, it turns out the longer I worked on it, the more
several months worth of effort,
the more I wanted to work on it. And then the more I worked on it, the more better I wanted it to be. And it just kept going. And before long, it was actually 6 months.
Well, there's
and I gotta give you credit for being like, maybe don't bite off too much because I don't want it to be an entire year before another Mitch show comes out. And I'm like, it's fine. It's only half a year.
And you know what?
So
it was better than nothing.
The pillar has the answer.
I see. And I can't change my angle, right? So okay.
No, so you got to use the.
I'm just gonna reset all this shit.
You could use the spiebel.
But yeah, there's an expression, and I absolutely forget the expression in Japanese, but it's the nail that sticks out gets hammered.
Right. Interesting.
So you have to remember that. As you go along, you start off with 100 nails and you start hammering them in, but every time you hammer a nail in, there's a new one that's now visible, right? So sometimes it's like, oh, I've got a month's worth of work. But then after that month, you reveal all of the holes left over. Am I doing it backwards order?
I was going to say, for brevity of the video, I just got to tell you, like...
I just thought about that. I was like, you know what? It started... Oh, you've got this back button on your thing. This like underslung button.
Yes.
That is for some reason pause. So okay. I see it now. Let me reset the doodles.
It's those buttons are mapped out to the B button for some reason. I don't know why.
So the B button pauses in this game?
Does B pause?
Oh, B also pauses.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a design flaw.
I have it set up for FromSoft games.
Okay, you know what? This is how we're gonna do this. Okay, so we've got the butterfly.
So what I've been calling them is hex, penta, triangle, butterfly, square. That's what I would call them in my head, just to keep them.
Butterfly, penta.
Yeah. Hex,
triangle.
triangle.
Okay.
That's the last one, though.
So,
the first one's butterfly.
So butterfly,
you gotta
penta,
You gotta reset it first.
hex. What?
Because one of them's down.
Yeah, that was the right one to do first, though.
Oh, look at that.
I know this shit. Dude, I'm sick, bro. Did you not know that?
I've been in cocoons before, bro.
This is not my first rodeo. Not my first orb.
I love this.
Give me that orb,
The confidence to do this slowly. They could have just spat it out. Instead, they're like, no, you do it. Because they're teaching you something. When you lose this little dude, you have to go back to one of these to get him back. So they had to teach it to you here because you need this drone to leave. So if you can't get the drone, you can't leave. So if you don't learn, you can't progress.
He turns all of that off. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen!
I
It's
kept
just the only thing that comes to mind.
I kept my description of Cocoon brief. I cut a lot of the stuff out of it because I didn't want to give away a lot of what it does. And I also wanted people to go and discover what I'm talking about. Because when you play this game on your own and you just, read the information that's happening, it's like this, it's like, what is this? Tell me more.
And it is, honestly, the fact that they can get so much done with one button is actually really quite impressive. What I'm struggling with right now is in most games, I have this, I guess you could call it FOMO, but basically I don't ever want to leave a section unexplored. And I'm feeling like there's a lot of corners I've missed.
So I left a part out of the video, which is that there is nothing like that in this game. There are no collectibles, no extra stuff. If you are in a place, it is a place you're supposed to be and a place you can't leave until you do what you're supposed to do. This is the most focused video game I've ever played in my life.
Well, and that's what I liked about that last room where I got the little floaty guy.
Yeah.
Is that I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not supposed to be here yet. And then they were like, no, you can't fucking leave. So you're here.
I was trying to put crystals into I've been learning Blender and I'm trying to get a job. And I was putting crystals into a video or into an example. And then I saw these crystals and I was like, I don't want to do crystals until I can do it like that.
Like these.
Yeah, like look at that,
look
dude.
Look at that photo
and
realistic thing.
For it to move that much and the camera's not moving a lot, like that's a very refined art.
Especially
to get it to look that good.
Especially because of the fact that it feels like it's fluid, like it's in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really creepy robot, though.
I love it. Everything in this game is like this. It's like, I called it tactile.
Is he gonna get stuck on that rock?
Yeah, because that's your bridge.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Robot.
Look,
I'll stop pulling on your nose.
You can see the path that he used to take, right? This
before the rock slide.
Right, there used to be something else here.
I love that shit.
Oh, and the low poly environment.
That kind of looks like something got smushed there, but I'm just gonna ignore that.
I recently figured out how to do that in Blender, the wiggly plants and stuff. I used to think it was Sims. It's not. Simulations take up so much processing power that you want to avoid that like the plague. So if you play a game that truly has a simulation where like you light a tree, you light a tree on fire, and then the wind blows a branch onto another tree, like that's a fucking amazing game. Because most games pretend to simulate. They simulate simulation, essentially.
Well, and that realistically is the best way to do almost anything. It's the same way in mathematics. More often than not, hold on. I feel like I needed to get this.
Maybe. I don't know. What happens if you bring the orb over there?
This side?
Yeah. Nothing. So you got to finish what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm not done here yet.
In the orb.
But that's what we often do in mathematics. So like more frequently than not, things that are really, really difficult to compute, instead of trying to compute them precisely, you come up with an approximation.
No way.
That is... Oh, hold on, folks. We will be back.
I was just thinking about her.
No, it's my mind playing tricks.
Brilliant TV shows like the original Scooby-Doo show, where every episode's moral is that there are monsters in the world, they're just not vampires.
Yeah, they're all people.
They're people.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, people are the best and the worst thing about this world.
Yes.
Absolutely, 100%.
When war expands, it amplifies everything about humanity. So the best and the worst of us becomes the absolute best and the absolute worst. So people, World War II, for example, my, I don't know if I should call her fiance, I guess. My fiance, her family has like a 20-year difference between the siblings. So some of them went to World War II.
Oh shit.
One of her not her siblings, her parents' siblings have a difference of 20 years between the youngest and oldest. So the oldest one was in the wars, and the stories they tell of like the places that they the people that took them in when the Nazis were looking for them and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Like it's the worst possible part of humanity mixed with the best. And so you know what happens when like the hottest and coldest air come together? Creates a tornado.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's essentially what war is. It's like it's the most amplified version of humanity, all swirling around like a vortex. Oh, I love this part. That's so cool. That effect.
I know. Like it's such a unique.
Do you know who made
Oh God. Sorry, it's freaking me out.
Or rather, do you know who? What other games they have made that
No.
are similar to it? So they made, when we were kids, Limbo. That was a very early indie hit on the 360.
Limbo.
Yeah, it featured, you play as a little boy, and it's a side scroller, and the color scheme is basically black and more black, or black and white basically. But the joke was funnier if I said black and more black. But anyway, I think you have to move this.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's because the so I let me try this one more time. So I flip it this way.
I love how the pieces underneath follow it behind it, but in sequence.
Yeah. So this takes me to here.
Yeah.
But I gotta get to there.
It's almost like
I can't turn it when I'm on it, can I?
No.
Let's see.
You might have to turn it and then go back to the start. Maybe one more time.
I tried that. There was nothing at the start. Oh, look at that shit.
See how that feeds back?
Yeah,
almost.
Oh, I get it. I gotcha. So we gotta do that.
The purpose of this video was partially to reinforce the arguments from.
Oh, I see. I gotta put this thing in the thing and take the big goopy ball and do this and then okay, I gotcha. The purpose of this video is to show off how fucking sick I am.
What is you up with you and being sick?
I just want to make sure that everyone is keenly aware.
That was one of my favorite jokes from when you were in university was your buddy.
Yeah, don't touch me, I'm sick. Oh, shout out to Simon. Oh my God. Yeah.
Was it the maniac who jumped out of my car while it was moving?
No. That was a different friend. He was a bit of a maniac though. You know, that's the thing though. In life, you gotta have friends that are maniacs and you gotta have friends that are brainiacs. And, you know, you gotta enjoy that they both have their own things, right? Like, don't expect the maniac to be a brainiac and don't expect the brainiac to be the most fun in the world, right?
That's the crazy thing. Like now that we've been pregnant for 3/4 of a year, and we hear a lot of stuff from people, and some of it's really shitty. Some of it's like, "Oh, you just wait," and I'm like, "Shut up." Just because you had a hard time doesn't mean we will. Like,
yeah. You don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't doubt that it will be the greatest challenge of our lifetimes. Like, but that's the thing. I'm aware that I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm not walking around like these people complaining about having kids. Like, get a life.
It's the easiest thing ever.
Yeah, it's like I understand that it's going to be a constant struggle forever, and some people won't even let that happen, especially family, and they'll be like, no, like, but really, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but really, it's an entire experience that you can't possibly completely plan for. Like, you basically prepare yourself for day one, and then day one preps you for day two, and then you basically just take it from there. And the wild thing about having kids is that when they first come out, they don't do anything. But they also don't know stuff. And then over time, they learn more things, they become more capable, but the more they learn, the better they become at the things they're capable of. it's that dangerous point where they think they know everything and are also physically capable of doing those things. That's the real problem, right? That's the concern. So like when they first come out, it's definitely like, holy crap, I gotta feed them and bathe them and watch them and make sure they're breathing and all that stuff. But that's actually the easiest part is at the beginning, actually. It only gets harder. Like,
Well, there's
when they get 20 years old and they think they know everything. And
what's that concept where, you know just enough about something to be dangerous, right? You know enough, but not enough to know what you don't know kind of thing.
Pilots call it the 200th hour. It's the point that they've decided. This is from a TV show, but this is the point where you know enough, but not enough to know what you don't know. Some people mistakenly call it the Dunning-Kruger effect, which was a study a lot of people say as being the more people or the less people know, the more they think they know. But the Dunning-Kruger effect was the more people do know in one field, the more they feel they know about fields they're not familiar with.
Oh, really?
So like a brilliant a brilliant scientist in one thing might think they know everything about baking because how hard could it be in comparison to my thing?
Weird.
Whereas people who don't know nothing are like, I'm just open to this at all. Let me just pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up because I swear the Dunning-Kruger effect was essentially saying that you know just enough in a field to believe that you have all of the information in said field. I thought it was like basically a trigger point where you go,
oh, I might have got it wrong.
Like, now I know enough to think I know everything because I haven't gotten far enough in to know what all of the other, possible information is. And believe me, I am incredibly familiar with that because there's the number of things that I've started and then realized, oh, there's an infinite sea of information below all of this.
So would you trust a Wikipedia?
Yeah, I tend to always go with Wiki for anything that isn't life or death. It's just like, well, fucking why not? I mean, you know.
According to the Dunning-Kruger effect as of February 22nd, 2025, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people with limited competence in a particular domain overestimate their abilities. So some researchers also include the opposite effect for high performers, their tendency to underestimate their skills. Okay, so I got backwards.
Okay.
So people who are really good at one thing think they aren't good in other things. And people who don't know nothing think they do. So the people who misdid it were doing it right, and I was misdoing it. And we all learned a lesson.
Yes, and the world is great again.
While also playing Cocoon. It's a good day.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree with your assessment of this game. This is a fantastic example of them teaching you everything you need to know as you go through it. I obviously have a bit of an advantage because I play a lot of puzzle games, so this is something that I have an aptitude for. But you can definitely tell that they are painstakingly laying the groundwork for most of this stuff, right? One little bit at a time. Because now I know I need a doodle. I need a listen kind of guy.
He doesn't do that though. Don't call him that.
Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry.
I have a really amazing announcement though.
Okay.
For all Super Not Cool related products. We are now done with Adobe.
Yeah, that's an exciting announcement for the people that.
Well, also, my baby that'll be born in like 3 weeks there's a baby shower for her right now as well. So I guess we can talk about that.
That's exciting.
I mean,
the fuck is that?
That's like some Elden Ring
just
shit.
A hole in the void.
Yeah, that's fine, casual. But yeah, we're done with Adobe products. We're out. I spent $10,000 over 10 years.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
You added it up?
Yeah, it was about $90 a month. Right, 12 months in a year.
That is bonkers.
And I've been using it since 2013. It's now 2025, so even longer than that. So, but yeah, a little more than $10,000, maybe $11,000.
All right, I need your assistance.
Square, pentatriangle.
Square, pentatriangle, hex, butterfly.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this. Square. triangle, hex, butterfly.
Nice. I will always associate Penta with this insane League of Legends moment where the announcer's like, Bataka! Bataka!
I will now associate it with this WWE wrestler that goes by the same name. He's called Penta. Yeah. Because I don't remember when it was. Maybe 3 weeks ago. My wife said, oh, like SmackDown is now on Netflix? Like, do you want to just watch that as a goof? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, that could be fun. So we're watching it, and she was really enjoying me, like, giving her the background, because I used to watch it when I was young, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, you see those guys coming out there? Like, they're gonna do a tag team match. And, like, when they tag, they're allowed for, like, 20 seconds to, like, tag team the guy, like, actually both be in the ring, even though it's not allowed. And, like, the ref has no power in WWE. If the ref has his back turned, you can just hit a guy with a chair. And as long as the ref doesn't see it, it's fine. There's no, like, secondary review, none of that shit. And we just started having fun with it. And the next thing you know, we watched the Royal Rumble. And
Nice.
We've actually seen almost every WWE event for the last, like, 4 weeks now.
Wow.
Yeah, the Elimination Chamber's coming up. We're pretty excited for that next weekend.
So
March 1st, Toronto, Canada. Sorry.
this is a very dark thing, but I just totally missed it when it happened. Do you remember Chris Benoit?
Yes.
And what happened there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So he didn't show up to an event, and nobody knew why. He had texted one guy saying his wife and daughter were sick,
Oh, fuck.
and then they found out his wife and his son? I can't remember, sorry. Him and his kid. His wife, him and his kid were all dead. And they didn't know why. And because they didn't know why, they did a whole heartfelt piece about Chris's legacy. And one of the guys in the middle of it goes, I can't tell you anything that I know, but maybe one day I can. It was essentially something like that.
Fuck.
And it just made the whole thing weird. And everybody else was like, great guy, love him to death, best person ever. And
Because he
and
was.
then this one guy was just like, I can't say a lot.
Yeah.
And it was really weird that they even put it in there. And it was only because right before he went up there, somebody goes, do you think he could have done it? And he was like, fuck, I didn't even think about that. So he was just about to do a heartfelt thing when he went, you know what, maybe I won't. And what ended up happening, we don't know the full story of it, but
God, that's so rough.
yeah, I mean, he had it was probably, a huge part of it was probably CTE, which we didn't know a lot about at the time, but he had some sort of
Mental breakdown, for sure.
breakdown, and he killed his family and himself.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, such a bummer because so after we started watching WWE, I went and I pulled out some of my old WWE videos, and so we went and watched one, and Chris Benoit was in the match. He did a fatal 4-way, and his music was unreal. Like, it was such a hype moment when his music would go off. Crowd would get so amped up, and it just. Wow, that was awesome. Sorry, I just saw the thing going by.
Yeah. I included that in the video, actually, because it was one of my favorite examples.
But yeah, then just like watching it, knowing what happened. And so I gave my wife like an abbreviated description of just how, it went wrong. I definitely didn't really need to get into it. But it's a real bummer how, like you said, a lot of it goes back to just like brain injury. Do you know what his signature move was?
No. Was it a head thing?
Flying headbutt. That was his signature move. And like I remember at least one or two occasions, and I'm sure it happened a lot more than that, where he would go for the flying headbutt and they would like pull a steel chair onto the,
right.
or, like they would defend, right? And you just think like how insane it is to jump off of a 6-foot turnbuckle and dive headfirst into somebody. Like, it just, to think that would hurt the other person, it's one of those things about WWE, right? It's like, well, how stupid is that?
That's the real trouble with, like, humans, we're all out of sync. So some people learn a lesson, other people have never even heard of this thing, and they're just going to come in and make the exact same mistake that people have already made. And so people who experience that, for example, go, oh yeah, head trauma is a big deal. But there's a lot of people who are like, it doesn't bother me. And they'll think that because it doesn't bother them, then it's not a problem.
Yeah.
That the only things that affect me are the things I'm bothered by. And that has bothered me for my whole life because I'm more sensitive than most people in a room. And I'll say, hey, there's this issue. And they're like, no, I never had any problems. And I'm like, you just don't know about the problem because you're unaffected by it.
I know.
There was once a fire in a building I worked in, and I smelled it 45 minutes before anybody else was willing to acknowledge it. And then it continued, and there was so much smoke in the building we couldn't even see people, and my manager wouldn't let us leave, and he wouldn't let us call the fire department.
That is so nuts. You're
So,
working
like-
in like a kitchen.
It was a kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, so,
yeah,
like,
you
it's
imagine
obviously-
walking into a kitchen to pick up a pizza pie, and you're like, oh, this place is on fire.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, I would never be back. Fuck you.
Like, that's-
You're
yeah.
you're willing to play with people's lives like that? And it turned out fine. Like, the fire stopped. We don't know where it came from or what
Or
caused
where it
it.
went.
It came through the vents.
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
And after, 10 months working with ventilation, I still couldn't even explain to you why that happened. Like, how a fire could start in there and then stop. Like, what happened? What was that?
Well, really, safety is the big thing where that happens, right? There's very few examples of that whole like, well, it's never happened before that aren't safety related.
Well, and I've known people who live off of it's never happened before, and I'm like, first of all, it has. Like, sometimes it's happened in front of me, and I'm like, that happened yesterday. You and I saw that. And they're like, oh, I didn't really consider that to be the same thing we're talking about. And I'm like, okay. So we can't even agree on what we're not agreeing about.
I know.
I left a job many years ago because me and the boss couldn't even agree on what we were disagreeing on. I'm like, that's not even the topic. The fuck are you talking about? And we had a mediator one time, and the mediator was like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't side with him in the moment, but that guy's fucking dumb. Like,
You just mean a third party. You're not actually going to mediation.
he wasn't officially in a meeting.
yeah,
He was just another employee.
Yeah.
But he had to be there because that's how bad it was between me and this guy that we needed a
witness.
third person.
Yeah.
And he was like, his argument made no fucking sense. And yours did. And I really appreciate that you didn't like try to crush him with that. You just like mentioned it and then moved on. Because he was doing one of those, I'm sorry you feel that way. And I'm like, that's not an apology. I'm sorry you're affected is not an apology. I'm sorry if you were affected is even worse.
I know that is like honestly the greatest one though, where it's just like, I'm sorry that you can't handle the way that I do things.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely perturbed at your inability to deal with my shit the way most people do. It's like, if you said it that way, maybe you'd realize that, it's not that simple, that just because no one else has complained about it doesn't mean it's not a problem. And whenever a tragedy happens, we go on and on about how we could have stopped it. What could we have done? The thing is, at least one person was telling you what could have been done before the tragedy. That's what you could have done. Paid attention. Thought about it. Considered that, the World Trade Center didn't collapse and kill 3,000 people before that day. But it had a first time, didn't it?
Well, that's the tough part, is that it sucks, but you often do have to force people. Whoa!
Look at you.
Look at me, man.
Remember you're talking about
rocking and
9/11
rolling.
flying around.
But yeah, you've got to force people by basically saying, "Hey, I'm putting you on notice of this info." So you're basically, without saying it out loud, you're saying, "Hey, this is this is me telling you, so that later you can't deny I told you." Right?
So, at a job, I was maybe press A over top of it.
That would make sense. I'm just trying to water everything first.
Oh yeah, there's not enough water in here. The entire thing is water.
Jesus, why am I gonna anger this fucking weird squid thing?
I think the bosses are like somehow connected to the power of the orbs or
Oh
something.
my god, he was upside down.
That's how he likes to sleep upside down.
Oh, and he's a fucking ghost too. You know what he is? He's one of those guys from the second Matrix movie.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, he's a phaser.
What you need to do is use a samurai sword on the undercarriage of his vehicle.
Yeah, that'll get him.
Yeah.
Samurai sword and a machine pistol. That's all I need.
So the really wild thing about that safety thing is I was the health and safety guy at a job, And we had some pretty like serious problems with doors just being like rusted closed. And I'm like, hey man, damn, this feels like a huge problem that, first of all, not everybody even knew about. There's only 5 emergency exits in the building, so like for people to not even know where one of them is.
Sorry, you think it's a problem for doors to not open?
Is a problem. This is the thing. I went crazy over this because this was like a 6 to 8 month problem where they just didn't fix the door, and every month I reported it, and every month they didn't fix it. And at one point the boss got frustrated enough to do something really stupid. He put in writing, we're aware of the issue and we're just not going to fix it. And so I went to the guy above him and I'm like, I just want you to understand like what's happening here. Like this is a problem. And his response was so uninterested in both that it wouldn't be fixed, but also that this guy was basically setting himself up to go to jail if someone died in a fire, that I realized, oh, you don't care, but you don't think this guy's a good manager at all. You just want him to hold the bag. He's your decoy.
He's the patsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, oh no, the problem between me and this middle manager is a problem between this guy and everyone he knows. And that was when I was like, it's time for me to leave this place because this is fucked up. Like we're dealing with politics on a higher level at a low level job. Like I'm dealing with politics as though it's life and death over this thing that should be just over and done with. Like we should have fixed that within the week it happened.
Oh yeah.
Just like there's a rusted closed door.
Well, let's be clear.
With no signs.
It's a rusted closed emergency exit, is it not?
Yeah. Yes. With no signs and no lights. So it's in a dark back corner of a warehouse with no indication that it works, and it's also rusted closed if they were to try it. I showed it to a guy who ran the like the national portion of the company, because he saw these like 8 months of reports, and he was like, he showed up and he was a really cool guy. And yeah, shout out to Mike the manager. And I swear he had like files on people so he could refresh his memory, because he wouldn't see me for like half a year. He's running like 25 branches, and he'd be like, Mitch, how's the cat?
That's crazy.
And I'm like, Mike, Mike, can you work just here? You're too good for this company. I want you to be just here. And he went and checked that door. He's probably 250 pounds. And he booted that door open, and he goes, if, like, he named a bunch of the women at the front, because they were all little ladies. He's like, if any of them were back here, they'd be dead. We would find them curled up against the door.
Right.
And I was like, you are the first person here, Mike, who has acknowledged this problem. I feel crazy because when I see my family, I tell them about how we're arguing about doors. Like, I feel like, am I wrong about this? Everyone around me doesn't think that an emergency exit is an important thing. And I'm out here being like, yes, the doors should open. Am I wrong about, like, and that's how I understood how, you have to press A over top of him.
Yeah, I am, but I think I started holding it before I got over him.
Oh, I see.
And now he's going to
start. Hold it on.
Now he's going to start trying to hoover me up.
I don't think you have to hold it.
Oh, is that one?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I remember being like, this is how people get roped into cults and all that sort of other behavior, because this was such a simple thing that made me question whether it was even worth arguing about for 8 fucking months. And at 10 months, I quit.
So that's all it was, yeah.
It was really funny. They gave me that position because I was the least likely to complain about getting it.
And you complained like no tomorrow.
Can you pause for a second?
I certainly can.
Okay, we're working.
Okay.
What was I talking about?
I don't know. Whoa. Okay. He's changing the rules. He's changing the rules, brother. I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's down here, he's God.
Jesus. So. She's turned into a Beyblade.
Was it you that sent me, or did I send you?
I sent you that.
Adult Beyblades?
Yes.
It's like they're made out of like wrought iron, and then they set it on fire. I really wasn't expecting the fire part.
Yes.
I thought it was heavy enough.
I normally despise that whole wait for the end thing, but on that one, it was worth waiting for the end.
That is the fastest way to get me to not watch your content, is to tell me to wait. Engage me till the end, motherfucker. Don't just tell me the ending is worth it.
Exactly. That one was already paying off.
Yes. Yeah, if it's interesting enough, people will be engaged. I spent 10 years making videos. Probably 30 Mitch shows like that are like similar to Mitch Show. And until I made the Learning Through Gameplay video, I had never truly engaged the audience. People who knew me would watch it because they knew that there was a reason to continue. But strangers were never engaged. And now people are actually saying that's how you engage the audience. But before that, I just blamed everybody but me. Because, like, it's your fault for not watching.
They should have liked it.
Yeah, you should have liked it more.
You should have enjoyed it.
I hadn't figured out that, no, you need to give them a reason. Don't just say, wait till the end. Make them want more, even when the end is done and they're like, fuck, I wish there was more of that. That's how you do it.
And that happens a lot. It's a bummer, but it's also cool when a video ends and you go, damn, I wish that was 10 minutes longer.
A great example is Elden Ring. It's long. It's very interesting. It's very difficult. It doesn't explain a lot. And it's extremely popular. It's so popular that its DLC was nominated for Game of the Year. Like, people wanted to judge it as its own game. It does everything that...
Sorry, these arrows totally look like the ones in Mario that would, like, move the platform this way, move the platform that way.
Yes, they do. It actually looks like a skewed perspective. This is bizarre. I don't know why they did this, but, like, this is how you get across, is that you just keep pressing A.
Well, that's kind of silly.
It's really strange, and then it only works like an automated system.
It's just this weird, like, earth cake.
Yeah.
You know, like, not sure I fully understand the intention there, but... It does look kind of delicious. I'll give them that.
Oh, I want to eat everything in this game. I want to eat the orbs. They look like everlasting gobstoppers.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they'd be goo filled.
On this end, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this was a bizarre decision in terms of like what you could do with this ability. That was not on my list.
Yeah. So this one got me. I'm very curious if you're going to figure it out, because I honestly spent like 30 minutes on this one. I even left and came back just in case this wasn't where I was supposed to solve the puzzle.
Right, to see if there was something you were missing. Okay,
but it is in fact all here. Okay. This is your palette, your canvas rather.
Good to know. So that's going to cause it to go that way.
Yeah.
And if I go down here... Oh, that just brings me back up. Okay. Oh, that's good to know.
But that's got to be it's got to be related.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now that's ghostly, because there's a thing. Okay, but that can't be. Okay. So I gotta.
this is the process.
Yeah. So I gotta.
Okay.
So this thing has to be in that form in order for me to put. Oh, but I see it. Yep. Yeah, I got you. Don't you worry, sir. I've got you in my sights. Okay, so we want to keep that there by going down here. I don't know if I did that quick enough. Let's see if I can squeak by. Oh, it's not this way. Okay.
But then maybe it's the lower one. Maybe that's got something to do with it.
Okay, so, because
it has to be ethereal for you to use it.
Still feel like I didn't do it fast enough. Oh, maybe I did it fast enough. I did it fast enough.
You did it.
Yeah, boy.
Yes. I really like how there's no enemies that aren't bosses. So you're very focused on what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not like trying to zigzag and dodge. Yeah. Although there is something about puzzling during combat that's also a unique challenge.
Yeah, that was actually something I just was halfway through there. Elden Ring and From Software in general is everything that big publishers believe won't work. They're like, no, you can't not tell the player where to go, or what's around the corner, or that robustness affects the resistance to this or that. You can't have an enemy the player didn't know about do a one-shot kill or leave you with Scarlet Rot that kills you when it builds up to a certain point. I forget if Scarlet Rot does that, and yet all of it works. It's just amazing. It's like it flies in the face of what all of these big money people think
would tell you. Yeah.
And like, I really want to make an Elden Ring video, because I feel like the one that I made was just so rushed.
I'm starting to understand how this mechanism can be useful.
Yeah.
It just didn't make a lot of sense for like straightforward translation.
Right.
And I guess that was just their way of moving you from one place to another, but it made it seem like the gimmick was kind of useless.
Right, like when you're traveling across the
Yeah, it was like,
areas.
so you just want me to push A a bunch of times. It's not really a puzzle, but okay.
It's because it alternates. And
Yeah,
so,
and now, and I think it was actually good to get us familiar with the mechanism.
Right.
We still only have 2 orbs.
Yep.
We gotta get another orb.
We're on our way.
We gotta get a 3rd orb.
But yeah, Elden Ring is essentially what a big budget game of this caliber can do. Because there's like, you gotta learn from other people what that fucking game is about. There's so many convoluted things where you're like, you look it up and find out that, oh, there's just like a charm that you can get in a back alley that gives you an ability that completely changes how the game is played. And most people would tell you, no, you can't do that. Like, don't, you gotta tell them where it is. It's almost the opposite of this game, where like, it doesn't convey so much. But the things it wants to convey, it does it brilliantly. One of my favorite things, there's teleportation devices in Elden Ring that just say, would you like to teleport somewhere?
What?
You're like, what?
Just
where is somewhere?
Generally.
It's the same place. And wherever you teleport to has another teleporter that brings you back. But no matter how many times you go over it, it just says somewhere. So it's about remembering where it is. It's a thing that it requires you to use your eyeballs. The problem with a lot of UI is that it kind of removes your perception. You don't have to like think about what that thing is anymore. So right now, a lot like a Ubisoft version of this would have like a thing that points, and it would be like, this is a red orb. And you're like, yeah, I know. I saw the orb, thank you.
It's all you need.
Put the orb in this pool, and it will activate, and you can teleport through it. And you're like, yeah, I was there, thank you.
Can we do multiple orbs? That's what I'm trying to figure out now. Because I want to get this across the bridge, but I can't just put it down.
So
let's
you might
see.
be able to.
Yeah, I know what I can do. So I could take this guy, put him in the pool, and then take this guy and go through into here because there's a little orb stand on the other side. I like how many convenient orb stands they put. Orb stands are good.
It's a world built around orb stands.
Exactly.
But you gotta like. There's also an implication about how this world.
I see it.
You see it there?
I see the green one.
Yeah.
In the red one.
But you see the implication of what the civilization would have been.
How complex.
That too, but they have these, like they have things that are only powered by putting an orb on a freestanding platform or a freestanding orb holder that wasn't protected. Like there's no locking mechanism. Like somebody could walk by and just pull the bridge out from underneath you. So they must have been extremely cohesive. They must have had a hive mind or something, because they're probably bugs.
Or alternatively, it may not have been a civilization at all. It may have been like 1 or 2 entities, right? Like super, super powerful entities that created all of this in their image, essentially.
Oh, there's an idea. You know, one of the greatest lines from an otherwise kind of unremarkable movie was in Spy Kids 2. Steve Buscemi says, "Do you think God didn't come back because he's afraid of his creations?"
That's such a good line.
And people are like, damn, dude, this whole movie is unremarkable. And then in the middle of it, Steve Buscemi just drops some knowledge.
Which Spy Kids is that?
Second one, I think.
Okay.
It's the island one.
That's the first one. The one with the thumbs and...
Or maybe all the movies are on islands. Because the second movie, it's got all of the like multi-character or multi-animal creations.
Can I swap an orb if I walk up to a pedestal?
If you're holding it, yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
I need to know
Except
the
you're
rules,
gonna have to
man. How the fuck? Okay, I got it. I gotcha. Yeah. So we gotta. It's There's a component to this that's also just trying to figure out like what you can and can't do. But what's nice is that unlike a lot of games, there aren't 400,000 combinations. There's only like 20 different things you could do. Right. So you're like, all right, well, I've tried, the first 18. Let's just try the last 2 before I get frustrated and give up.
Well, there was way more. Like that video was not supposed to be that long. I'm glad it was, and it was a much more in-depth retelling of a thing I had already been working on.
And just for the record, you're talking about your new Mitch show video called something about tutorials being bad or good or whatever. Yeah. That one? Cool.
Yeah,
all right.
that one.
Just, people should go check it out. So I just want to make sure it was crystal clear.
Yeah. I mean, it's much more likely that people who watched it should check this out.
True. I will give you that. But it is linked, so go watch it.
It will be
it's
linked.
fucking awesome.
Oh, thanks, man.
I mean, it doesn't start with a montage, so I was honestly like, a little bummed out as an old school Mitch viewer, but...
So the trouble with that one is, what would the montage be?
I don't know, just make a sick montage.
A bunch of visual conveyance? Like, that's the problem. It's like, I really wanted to be...
Yeah, you're right.
And, you know, the montage could have been at the end.
Why do you have to be right?
What I've discovered recently is that... Yeah.
You can tell me after.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, Penta...
Oh, right.
Penta!
Penta! You found it. It took me so long to find.
Butterfly triangle square.
Penta,
you can extol my virtue later.
Pentahex.
Butterfly triangle square.
Pentahex butterfly triangle square. Pentahex butterfly. Pentahex butterfly.
Okay, so pentahex butterfly
triangle
square. Okay, perfect. And now you can tell me.
Okay, so the plan was not to make it that long, but the longer I worked on it, the more I was like, man, I feel like that's not exactly the truth. And a lot of the earlier versions of that video were very cut and dry. I was just deciding what was good and what was bad. And over time, it got vaguer and vaguer because I played so many games. Shout out to the Game Pass by Xbox, because I have no money for video games right now. And I also lost my Steam account, which is a whole story. So I had no access to video games. And without Game Pass, like, I don't know, half of those examples wouldn't be in there. So that's pretty cool. And the more options I saw, the more I was like, there are no rules here. And I'm pretty sure the first video basically said there are. Like, there's one way to do it, and you have to. And that's why I wrote in that whole thing where it was like, what if there was a way you could do it, and it was a one-size-fits-all approach? And for, like, a month, I was trying to write that rule. And eventually I was like, you dumb motherfucker. There isn't one. Every game does it differently. Red Dead Redemption 2, Destiny, Ratchet and Clank, they all have different amounts of story, gameplay mechanics, introduction, voiceover. Like, everything is different. And there's thousands of games made every year. Who the fuck am I to decide, like, how they all should be?
Well, not only that, why would a puzzle game and a first-person shooter have the same method of teaching the player? Why would a game with fucking towers and a game that's,
gotta have towers.
Yeah, and a game that's more like racing style, why would they have similar tutorials? It really does make sense when you start to boil it down.
I love those pillars.
Yeah.
Those guys that let you know that you can't bring the orb in.
I don't like them.
They're affecting me negatively.
They're keeping my orb out.
How dare
These
you?
motherfuckers. So I'm just trying to think, like, I don't actually see a well on the other side yet.
You may notice that your drone buddy has been trying to tell you something.
Is he pointing at something?
He just might be.
What is it, boy? Fire at the old mill?
See that?
What's going on?
See that?
He's pointing at the green orb.
Yep. It's got to be in the green orb.
Okay, so I gotta put the green orb.
Yeah.
Okay.
The green orbs.
Yep. No, there's only one.
I actually
piss off with your reference.
I cut that from the video actually because I already planned on making it in another video, and I was like, we don't need that much.
Okay, so I gotta take the red one here.
Also, the green orbs haven't contributed since like 2016, so like they're not even a contemporary.
That's a good point.
Artist. I like the reference because the very first Mitch show opens with a montage to a green orb song that, by complete chance, lined up with the video with the montage I had made to a different song. So that was really funny to me. So I like the green orbs are always going to have that little place in my heart, even though they didn't actually like.
But that's really the only reason.
Like the Mona Lisa, it's just like there's something weird about. We were doing the teardown. You remember teardown?
Yeah. Oh, the teardown was fun, man.
I don't know why, but that video has 160 views, and normally our videos get like 5. So something happened.
You know what? Maybe it was popular at the time, and maybe it was just a fucking blast.
It
was a blast.
Yeah. And when we were doing Teardown, we ended it by talking about the Mona Lisa. And I thought I was like way off. And I was. But it's because I thought that a thing that happened in a Mr. Bean movie was what actually happened. I thought they were parodying an actual historical event where the popularity of the Mona Lisa came from the story of how a fake version had been in the museum for years and no one knew it. and they were looking at a fake, not the real one. I thought that's why the Mona Lisa was famous. I don't know why the Mona Lisa was famous, but the fact is I thought a movie was the, like...
Oh, so you thought that was the inspiration.
I was all nervous, being like, oh, I can't believe I said that. And then when I watched the episode, I remember I found out you took the piss out of me immediately. Like, anybody who ended that episode thinking that was the truth was not paying attention. So I'll give you a hint. You have to sacrifice him at least to get the orb through.
Yeah.
I love the way that
because then I can get the orb to the other side.
I love how he does the little alarm thing where he's like,
danger,
he's
danger.
like, don't bring me there. And he forces you to do it, and it makes you sad.
Can I drop the orb midair? Dunk! Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, let's hurry up, bro. I was just going to say that I really appreciate the logic that would have gone into this, because this whole game would have been about, does the player have an orb?
Yes.
If they have an orb, which color orb do they have? Is there an orb already on the platform? Where was the last place this player came from with the orb? Like, I can only imagine.
The most complicated if-then statement series of events.
Yeah, just 14,000 lines in a row, you know, just no big deal.
So I've heard recently, so you know probably more about how code works than I do, but when I was taught code briefly in, like, I don't know, 2009, I remember my teacher saying that a line of code isn't so much important. It's the order things happen. So if you want to, you can do those hard returns, but the hard returns don't actually do anything to your code. So at the very end, some guys would, to make the code complicated for someone who wanted to hack in, they would organize it well for themselves, and then the final version, they would copy-paste the entire code into a single line to make it as hard as possible for someone to go through it. So, like, it doesn't have to be set up in an organized fashion. The computer is better than you at like...
It's funny that you say that, because most languages are like that. They'll have a termination sequence. So often it'll be, you know, at the end of a line, you put a semicolon, and that's how it knows you're done.
Okay.
So for certain languages, it means you can do really efficient stuff. Like you can just put this action, this action, this action on one line if they're all short. Python does not work that way in the slightest. Python, everything is based off your... not only your line returns, but also your indenting. So if your indenting is improper, a Python code just won't run. It knows what's supposed to be in a loop based off indents rather than using, like, fucking parentheses the way every other language does.
So you can actually switch orbs in your hand?
Oh, that's right. I don't have to use these damn pedestals.
Yeah, he's pointing to the green right now.
Yeah, and I'm realizing that I've hit a dead end there. But yeah, you know, that is very true. That's a great concept to, like, when you put out a final code, you do want to consider, like, what am I giving to people? You know, what are they going to be able to take away from this?
Well, one of the, like, the reason why I bring it up is because apparently the entire Undertale game, which was made by one guy, is just a single, like, executable code. Like, it's just the worst possible thing to try to work on afterwards.
I could absolutely see that.
And it was something that Thor was saying is like an example of, like, you think you can't code? This guy made an extremely successful video game and clearly didn't know what he was doing. He just kept doing it.
That's kind of where I feel like I am with the program that I wrote, in that it's just over 10,000 lines. And it's all in one file. Typically, you would break it up into several smaller files to make life, like, a little bit easier. The problem is, now that it's written, breaking it up could break it. Like, it could actually mean that it won't work. So I'm wondering, like, is it worth... Well, the one thing that was crazy, though, is I looked at it and I realized it is a 500 megabyte script, which means 500,000 characters. Because it's, you know, it's like a byte for every, or a kilobyte for every, no, 1 byte. Yeah, 1 byte for every character you write. And so I just thought about it. I was like, wow, 10,000 lines is a lot, but thinking that there's 500,000 keystrokes, like, Jesus.
This is the definitely not 6 testicles monster.
No, not at all.
Definitely not.
And then this is the 7th testicle, so it's actually the 7th testicle monster.
One thing, like, kind of on that topic was, you don't want to change too much too close to the end of a project.
Yeah.
And it's why, like, Some people will say, don't use placeholders because you might have designed it around the placeholder. Well, one thing that I've learned is you don't update programs, you don't change programs in the middle of a project. That's how bad Adobe Premiere is, that I'm willing to change in the middle of the project I'm currently on. I'm just moving it from that to Resolve.
But you're effectively scrapping it, I assume, right?
Yes.
Like it's not going to convert over.
Well, so actually the entire timeline converted.
I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, it's really cool. You export. You export to.
Please tell me it does something with these void crystals.
Oh, maybe one day.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe eventually.
There's nothing in this game you won't use.
When you grow up big and strong, you'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Father told me, when you get that blue orb. But what was I talking about? Oh, right. So, just try to guess on the tutorials video. What do you think the hardest, most annoying thing for me to work on in that project was?
The most annoying section of the video, you basically mean?
Aspect. Like,
oh, damn it.
The voiceover, the writing, the animation, the UI. Like, which part do you think
I would have assumed it was the animation of the avatar.
Yeah, and I certainly went into it expecting that too. The hardest thing I had to work on, the most frustrating, stupid thing with Adobe Premiere was the fonts.
Oh?
The video was delayed by a day and a half because of the fonts. So when you use Adobe products, it's very much a walled garden. But inside that walled garden is a bunch of pricks. I wasn't actually intending to dunk on them, but that kind of joke just kind of like popped out. When you use Adobe programs, they want you to use all other Adobe programs at the same time through the Creative Suite. The problem is they don't really work together the way that you would want them to in a cohesive fashion. Different buttons do different shortcuts on different programs.
Oh my god,
extraordinarily frustrating.
Zooming in with like the alt thing.
Why would Zoom be different in different programs? You ding dong.
Such a pest.
And I know it's a huge meme when you get frustrated about a product that you say, "Did they even try this?" But I really don't think that people who work on Adobe programs use them, or at least the management certainly doesn't. Because if they did, they'd be like, "We should make this work like the way we say."
Yeah, this should have some sort of cohesion to it.
So Adobe Fonts is a really cool idea. Really wish that I liked it and that it worked. But it's an always online thing. So if you don't open Creative Cloud ahead of opening Premiere, the fonts that you use from it don't work.
No.
And that's not just a creative issue. Fonts have different sizes and placements. So you might have figured it out to the font you like, and then you come back in and it's fucking Arial, and it's in a different spot, and things like the part where it says when I say learning through gameplay and I have the words go like bring, when you change the font, the thing that occludes it until you need to see it changes its position, and now you see part of the word. So it just wasn't acceptable to release it without the fonts. Problem is, Adobe has this really fun thing. They have an entire fucking program called the Media Encoder, which is entirely a program just for exporting videos. On its own, probably shouldn't even be a program. Most programs, like Resolve, export through the program you're using, so you're not like using other ones. This one is only for that, and yet it fails like 50% of the time. So I'm trying to export a 20-minute video, takes about 20 minutes. Halfway through, error. What happened? I couldn't tell you. Like, aren't you the one doing it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still not my problem.
Honestly, Adobe products feel like that really shitty roommate you have, that when you go, "Hey man, do you have the time?" They're like, "I certainly know what time it is, but do I have the time? I don't know about that." And you're like, as if you didn't fucking know what I meant. And that's what Adobe feels like. So I couldn't export. One of the problems with not telling me what the error code is that I don't know what happened. So I'm just guessing. You just try different things and you go, "Oh, it worked that time." One of the things people suggest is that when Creative Cloud is open, it reduces the chances that an export is successful. How fucked is that? The program that marries the programs together might be the problem with the easiest, simplest part of your project, which
that is
exporting.
insane, actually. That
Here's the thing.
That's even a fact.
I still don't know if that's what it was, but I did have a better chance of a successful export when it was closed. But when it's closed, the fonts don't work. So I can't do it with and I can't do it without. So I did the strangest. I was crying, laughing when I was saying this to myself like 7 days ago. In order to complete a video that I have been thinking about for 10 years on a program I have spent $11,000 on over those 10 years, I couldn't use the program I paid for legally or the font that I had a legal license for. So I deleted my access to the legal one and illegally downloaded the same font
and installed it straight to your computer.
And installed it like a person who wants to finish a project would do. And then I exported the video with no problems ever again. And that's why when people say it would have been really cool if you put the text on the screen for what each of those games was, instead of just in the end where I have to like sift through all of your credits, I would have loved to. But I barely got the fonts working that existed in the video.
Not on the cards.
And it was an example of that placeholder problem. I hadn't done that until very close to the end of the project. That's one of my biggest regrets about that video, is that I didn't put that information in early enough in the project, that it was a last minute thing. And in the end, I decided to remove almost all of them except for like the Auntie Donna credit and that kind of thing. I wish that I had done that. But I didn't. That was one of those lessons. You know, I was learning a new program. I was learning editing or animating and 3D modeling in a new program. I was completely redoing the philosophy of Mitch Show and the presentation style. It was slower. It was more in depth. There was just so many things I was learning at the same time that when it got to fonts and I barely even got them done in the first place, I was like, fuck it. If people are interested, they'll read the credits. So yeah, well, that was a tough part.
I'm really frustrated with the sort of ubiquitous move towards, hey, you know, everything is now going to be cloud-based instead of machine-based.
Yeah.
And it just, things don't work as seamlessly when they're not on your machine. So it's not like it's easy to just say, well, you know, cloud-based is superior in every single way, so that's what we're doing.
Well, it's a control thing. If they really wanted you to finish that project, they would say, once every, 24 hours, you got to log into Creative Cloud so that we know you have the licenses. Because I get it. It costs money. Like, it's not, the fonts aren't free. And then but it still installs it on your computer so that it doesn't do that problem. Because there were times where even with Creative Cloud open, it still wasn't updating my fonts. And I'm like, this is insane. I've been dealing with this for 10 fucking years. I hate it. It should be the easiest, simplest part of the project is exporting the video. You shouldn't even think
not only
about
that,
exporting the project.
Fonts should be the simplest thing.
Yes.
It's a font. We're not talking about complex, you know, interactions between things. It's how text is fucking displayed.
But it's entirely about control. And that was when I finally came up with something I think is kind of interesting. You know, I'll pat myself on the back. Do you know what the root word of control is?
Cunt. I see.
The more control people are after, the cuntier they probably are.
Oh, no.
There are some people like Batman, you know, he wants control so he can keep it from the bad people. But most people who are after control are just trying to fuck other people with it. You know, like parents want control over their children to keep them safe. But there's also really cunty parents who just don't want their kids to have control at all. Like, you'll do what I say and you'll like it because I gave you life. You know, it's just like this ridiculous entitlement of like, I created you. You know, people are asking like, they're like, my girlfriend's always on Reddit things about pregnancy and whatnot. And I'll just give you a little, oh, you got it. She's always watching like pregnancy stuff and on Reddit for that kind of thing. And there's all these people who are like, am I the asshole for, and almost always yes.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10.
Sometimes it's like, I'm just very disappointed that we're having a girl. I was really hoping for a boy.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm really hoping that they're healthy. You know?
Yeah.
Like, of all of the things that can go wrong having children, so many of them are not in your control. And you're over here worried about whether they have a dick. That's your main that you don't even know how they're going to turn out. They might be a girl who only wants to do dude stuff. They just want to hit baseballs and spit on the ground. Like, you never know what you're going to get out of kids. And to have this ridiculous you're basically... I never put this two together. Parents like that are basically the people who allow pre-order culture to exist. Because they're like, I've already decided what this game is going to be. And it better be that or I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, it's too late already.
It's like, or you could just be happy that, they exist. They're alive. They're healthy. They have their appendages. Some people are born without all their legs. Like, to be all upset, like, well, I'm a boy and she's not a boy. So what am I going to do? How would I possibly raise girls? The same way. You talk to them. You ask them questions. Sometimes you don't ask questions. It's a constant combination of many ideas. There's no one way to do it. It's a lot like designing video games. Having kids is like, there's going to be a different version for each one of them. You could have 8 kids and every one of them could learn differently than the other ones and have different expectations. I mean, remember when we were kids, there was special attention that had to be put on me for everything that you didn't require. Right? Yeah. You were always on time. You were prepared. I needed to be constantly reminded. I needed to be like, did you get all that done? Yeah, for sure. Okay, how much hasn't been done? 50%. Okay.
A certain amount, for
Whereas
sure.
Whereas you were over there doing 150%. This one I don't quite remember. It might be related. So that center one...
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out how to get
he moves
up the center one.
It might be related to getting it up on that one.
Clearly has to go up here.
And
That's
then maybe
a fact.
Go down.
Because I tried going down here, but then he just comes my way. Unless I can keep him... Yeah, no, see, he just keeps coming my way. And that... Oh, interesting. Okay. Whoa, so Oh, no, these were always all the same, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're all synchronized.
Yeah.
Can't imagine building a civilization like that is healthy, though.
No, this is definitely creates some absolute fuckery.
Everything is either up or down? That's a terrible system.
I can just imagine, one guy's trying to go up, one guy's trying to go down. They do it at the same time, and there's just an explosion, takes out the whole block. Yeah, so I can definitely get him up on that platform. That I'm pretty damn good at. I'm just wondering, so there's nothing for him to do down here, I don't think. And I can't put this shit down in order to, like, navigate him deeper. Not that that would do anything. So let's see.
I think it's a real tricky dicky one. It's like or rather, it's actually the opposite. It's like simpler. It's
so basic.
It's simpler than we're thinking.
Yeah.
Like you get him stuck on something.
Because I can't go over this. That's a fact.
And he goes around it. It's funny that we've added male.
And I can't go down.
We've just assumed he's a male. I think that bridge that over top is somehow related to
where I've got to bring him.
To managing him. Maybe it's because you hold him up there, go around, and then as he walks across.
Yep. Okay. You're right. Yep. So then he's going to come this way, and I'm going to get him right in the middle, just like that.
And then he comes to you, and then you can bring him up with you.
And so, yes, it's a time-honored tradition that most things just get a gender assigned to them. I call it Frenchifying. And so if the thing is kind of like nameless and mostly functional, then I consider it male. And if it has form that is attractive or beautiful in any way, then I consider it female. That's why cars are typically females, unless they're owned by females, in which case they become males again. Yes, there we go. That's what I needed.
I noticed a considerable change when I started using DaVinci Resolve. I started to refer to it as a she, even though...
The program?
Yeah, even though I had never referred to Premiere as anything.
What the fuck?
You like that?
Yeah, that was... Yeah, so that means I actually need this other one?
Yeah, so now you're going to do the other one over here. And you're going to do it again with this doodle.
So I got to go grab Buddy over here. I'm not looking forward to this, though, because I'm going to have to wait for him to...
Yep.
Oh, we're going to have to stay so close together. But yeah, both of my wife's vehicles, actually all three of my wife's vehicles, rather, have been males. So she had a Volkswagen Golf, little Volkswagen Golf named Horace, named after Slughorn from Harry Potter. Then she had a big white Kia Sorento named Joe after Mighty Joe Young.
That movie was groundbreaking visual effects.
You know what?
Holy
Honestly,
crap.
I have not seen it in so long. I could not tell you.
His comping and his the way they married his image into every scene, where like he'd grab things and it would crush underneath him, and
Really?
oh, it's a great movie.
Interesting. Because he's a giant gorilla, right? He's
Huge.
like a King Kong sized gorilla.
Yeah.
Okay. And then her third is a black SUV. So its name is Severus. I'm assuming you can figure out which Severus that is supposed to be.
We just watched Doctor Who.
Oh, that's a nice little asshole right down there.
You like that?
Yeah. Oh!
It's very.
Oh no, I'm being sucked in by the asshole.
It's very.
That's not how that's supposed to
It's
work.
very
We're going in through the outdoor, brother.
goopy technology.
So sorry, go on about Doctor Who.
Well, just because the people are upset because they want to recast Snape as a black guy, and
Wait, what?
yeah, there's an HBO Harry Potter.
Oh my god! Oh,
I don't know if it's a show or a movie, but like, and who knows? Like sometimes it's just like
clickbait bullshit.
yeah, it could be that.
You know what?
But-
I'm totally cool with that as long as he still has the long, straight, greasy hair, and it's gonna be hard to find a black dude with long, straight, greasy hair. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. So
But on the topic, they made Doctor Who a black guy,
right?
a gay black guy. I don't know. He might be fluid. I don't know. He wears skirts and he dances.
Okay.
And that part, I couldn't give a shit.
I mean, if he
about.
wears skirts and dances, he's flamboyant. So that's a fact.
I
You
couldn't
can
give
go
a
with
shit
that.
about like what a person pretending to be a person is on the reality, because I'm not watching you for reality. I would watch that if that's what I was after. But I'm trying to escape. I don't need to be like, oh, this person's not really in a wheelchair. That's okay. You don't own wheelchair jobs. It's so wacky. Like, anyway, that's a whole conversation. But
Yeah, let's not go there.
what I thought was interesting was, I'm pretty sure one of the older writers is back to the show, and I really wanted to like it because it was actually the first episode was actually pretty interesting, but it feels like there's an agenda, and that's always been my problem with newer media in general. It's even in video games, like the Dragon Age Veilguard just tries to shove gender politics down your throat on top of every other thing it shoves. Like, that game won't let you explore behind a waterfall to find a cave. It'll be like, hey, that waterfall looks really cool, we should go check it out.
Ugh.
I shouldn't have been so harsh on Crackdown 2. If I had the money, I would have bought Veilguard, and then it would have been the antithesis of the argument.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that like you didn't even go all the way with Crackdown 2 in the sense that there was still that that leftover component of like they put you in a car, fly you somewhere, and then tell you to get out of the fucking car.
On top of that, they fly you over the place and then tell you the helicopter can't go there.
Jesus.
Like, there was more to that I'm like, I don't need to rail on them any harder. I've already told them it's probably
you
the
already
worst.
have, yeah.
It probably is the worst tutorial I've ever played.
Oh,
That's not to say it's the worst game. There are plenty of games that have terrible tutorials that are really good, and plenty of bad, great tutorials for bad games, and then every variation in between. I was trying to be vague as many points as I could, but there's a point where you have to decide, like, what do I think? And that was why it was important to say, these are opinions, more specifically, from the perspective of someone who has played them forever. So you give my niece a video game and she's going to be enthralled by it because she's never had that before. But whereas you give it to me and I'm like, oh, it's a roguelite with basketball elements. Like, I'm
all these
immediately
different
like
games,
picking
yeah.
up. I'm like, oh, it's a fusion between this and that. And then it'll teach me in a dumb way. And I'm like, I don't know if I have the patience for this game. And a lot of people, I learned this through the comments, that a lot of people feel the same way. The really interesting thing about making videos is that I've become, by focusing really hard on myself, you constantly listening to yourself speak and over again. And so the mistakes become harder and harder to listen to. If you're wrong a little bit, on the 50th watch, it feels like you're just like the most wrong person you've ever met. Everyone else is going to watch it once or twice, and they're not going to notice all those things. But if you're if you're looking inwards towards yourself, you're likely to become very hard on yourself when you listen to your own ideas. And so over time, I have essentially developed my personality by being forced to pay attention to my personality. This show is actually better than Mitch show at doing that because I'm listening to myself talk
in real time,
but also to a person that is, I think, as compatible as possible. So if there's an uncompatibility aspect of a conversation, I'm usually looking at it like, what did I do wrong there? Why did I make that weird? And
you're just a weird bloke.
That video explained a lot of my failings as a creator through watching it, where I was like, oh, I'm giving Crackdown 2 a hard time for a thing I'm doing with my videos. Like, I don't have to explain everything. I don't have to hold them still. I was also doing this thing I'm now calling selfish storytelling. So rather than telling you there's a really cool thing and I'm going to build up to the best part, I would keep that from the audience and I would just build up to the best part because it was more important for me to tell you myself than for you to learn. That was the problem I felt with a lot of my older content.
So you wanted the satisfaction of bringing the information.
I'm the guy. Like you don't know about this. I'm the one who will tell you. What I discovered from the MGS3 video, that was the first one that blew up, was there were more people there to confirm what they already knew about MGS3 than there were people who were like, oh, I've heard about this. Tell me more, Mitch. That really changed my perspective and my philosophy on making videos. Was like, oh, this isn't just about me showing you. This is more of like a cultivation of a community of people who have a similar ideal. And so I thought about that a lot making that video. I was like, a lot of people are going to know more about this and have more experience than I do. I should consider those variations instead of being like, listen up, pal. I've been playing games since 96, so I know everything. And then I changed the same setup. That line was in there from the beginning of the rework. Was like, I've been playing games since 96. I was just saying that to sound cool. I've arguably only been a gamer since 98. But 96 sounded better.
It does. It rhymes.
Okay,
it kind of goes. So square, hex.
Square, hex.
Penta.
Square, hex, penta.
Square, hex, penta, triangle.
I would usually just remember before, because you don't need to remember the fifth, right?
Yeah.
Square, hex, penta.
Triangle.
Square, hex, penta, triangle. Square, hex, penta, triangle. Square.
Square.
Hex. Penta.
Penta. Triangle.
Nice.
This guy. I really hope that worked, because I don't remember which the first one was. I think they just want them in the right order, but it took me so long to figure out what was going on. I had already skipped like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are doing a better job at this while also talking to me about it than I was alone.
I've played a puzzle game or 2 in my day. You could even call me a puzzler. I'm an expert puzzler.
But basically, what I'm trying to get at is that I learned to just be better as a person. Because I thought that what the biggest problem about my older videos was that people weren't connecting with me. Like they didn't think that I was real, and that was the truth. I wasn't being real. I had to let go of who I wanted people to see, and just be more like myself. Which is why a lot of the comedy is really strange, and there's a lot of like dead air because I think that's funny. And some people have thought that was a bad thing. Like the comments are like, "This is just 2 seconds of pause followed by a corny joke," and I'm like, "Yeah." And nighttime is just when the sun isn't out. Like, yeah, I built the video comedy around the idea of awkward pauses. It's not an insult to tell me about that.
Most comedy is just a function of timing.
Right.
Right. At the end of the day, it's comedy can be about great themes, but I feel like without timing there is no comedy.
But what I mean is like they were saying that the problem is like I've figured out your formula, which is why it's wrong. Which is sort of like a parody, like when Family Guy parodies Star Wars. Just because they've figured out the Star Wars formula and pointed out that things don't always make sense doesn't mean that it's a bad series of movies. It just means what they've pointed out. It's not that, because Seth MacFarlane figured out the formula, that there's something wrong with the formula, right? And that's how a lot of people look at it. Oh, there's they've parodied you effectively, which means that what you do is dumb. Like, no, actually, parody usually comes from a love of that thing. Like, you if you don't care about something, you're not going to spend any time on it, right? McFarlane didn't redo or make fun of all the Star Wars movies because he thought Star Wars was bad.
Well, yeah,
because he loved it, and he wanted to show the differences in how it could have been. He wanted to basically say, like, look at all the things I've noticed about it, and the things that I think are funny or bad or poorly thought out, and I'm going to point that out because I care about it, not the opposite.
Well, I think that people only spend so much time on things they don't care about, right? There's this old thing where it's kind of, I think it's like mostly related to divorce, but it's sort of like if you're super upset about your divorce, odds are you cared about that person at some point in some way, because otherwise you would only be so upset, right? And I think there's some merit to that. The idea, I love that this little guy is so useful. Yeah. I actually don't like when I don't have him.
Yes.
Because he's just like, it's so much less information coming my way. Ugh.
Right, and he sacrifices himself.
Which is also very noble.
Yeah, and he doesn't say anything. He just does it quietly, like a good boy.
That was really violent, the way those just like collapse.
I also heard another one really good, because I haven't had a lot of community connection over 10 years. Most videos get 300 views, and they might get a comment, and now I have 300 comments on a video. It's like, wow. And they're like poignant. And the ones that hurt are the ones that are the most right about the things I already thought I was already insecure about. Like a guy pointing out, hey, it would have been nice to know all these games. And I was like,
it's so funny, because when I showed it to my coworker, he didn't say it, but he was like, oh, and what's that game? And that, and I called out a few of them, but I didn't, I
was worried people would be distracted by wondering what they were. And you were right. I should have put the time in. God damn it. Well, that's a lesson.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're done a project, there should be regrets, and there should be things that you were too ambitious to accomplish, because it means you're trying to grow. If there's no regrets and nothing challenged you, and you didn't have to scrap any ideas, you probably weren't improving, or you're just perfect, which I guess you can choose to believe. But like, even one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, Quentin Tarantino, does not believe that he's perfect. That's why he's only made a few things, because he's spending all that time trying to be better, trying to grow. If he could just keep making Pulp Fiction movies, like, it would be easy the longer you did it. But each time he does a movie, it's a different thing. It's a new creative challenge. Like, dude, the Hateful Eight? What an amazing, like, you already think you know what you're going to get with a Tarantino film. Okay, he's going to show you things in different orders and blah, blah, blah. But it still blows you away. You're like, oh my God, all these stories and characters. This is my favorite one.
Nice. Yeah, I figured this was a great climax here. Oh, I get it.
Yeah,
he's a mirror image.
Yeah. And so they're waiting for you, to confirm how it works. Isn't that cool? You switch when you press A.
I switch. Oh, shit.
Switch places.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Love it. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Sorry. This is them waiting for you to confirm.
Oh, man. This is I constantly see videos related to that the scene in Hateful Eight when they smash the guitar. The super expensive guitar.
No,
you're not familiar with this? Oh shit. Okay. So
it's been a while since I watched the movie. I just remember how I felt when I watched it.
So they had been loaned an extremely valuable Les Paul guitar, or a Gibson. I forget what it is.
It was a real. Oh, you mean it's like actually?
Yes.
Right.
From damn it. I love that they just chuck you out of their world. They're like, I don't need this trash.
Yep.
So they had borrowed this guitar, and it was an incredibly expensive, rare old guitar. And they meant to swap it out for the scene where it's going to get smashed. And somehow there was a confusion on set. No. And so Kurt Russell just smashes the guitar. And the reaction of the girl is fantastic because it's real.
Right.
She's like, whoa, wait, hey. And she's actually like freaking out. And so when you watch that scene now, you can actually kind of see her reaction doesn't make sense for her character. Because now you
care.
know. Yeah, but it made no difference when I watched the movie the first time. And the whatever, I think it was either Les Paul or Gibson, but the museum has decided they are no longer loaning out guitars for movies.
You don't say. That was actually a part of my philosophy change, was when I realized one day that movies are all about fakeness, and the thing people love the most about them is the parts that were real. They want to know about...
yeah, like not showing Maggie Gyllenhaal the Joker until he showed up and scared the shit out of her.
Yeah, I think that was actually... What's his name? Sir Guy. What was his name? The butler.
What?
I believe that was the butler who had that reaction.
Oh, no.
And you see it on camera.
No, Maggie Gyllenhaal, they didn't show her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so you can see her looking at the director.
Really?
You can see her looking off screen and going like, what the fuck's going on?
Wow.
Is this to plan?
Well,
Like,
I know the guy who played the butler as well. I lost his name. Oh,
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, yeah. I always remember it because you pronounce it like you're saying my cocaine. Michael Caine.
Well, the way he would say my cocaine, 100%. Yeah. That's
Michael
awesome.
Caine. And well, also because when he comes out of the elevator, you can see Michael like jump back. Like,
Oh, damn.
holy shit! Like, I can't believe that.
Oh, the first time?
Yeah. But what I was going to bring up was Alan Rickman being dropped from the building in Die Hard. That was real. They were really dropping him from not the whole distance, but they were dropping him a considerable distance. And they said they were going to count down, and they didn't. So like that, it was a genuine drop
nice.
of him being like, "Oh my god, I'm dropping." But what I thought was really interesting is that people know it's not real, but the most fascinating part about it is the real part. I'm so sorry for the dog barking in the background. I honestly think in this change of election, we should put me in charge, because I'll deal with people who... It's the people. Don't blame the dog. The dog's doing what it thinks
It's supposed to. Yeah,
do.
that's...
He's trying to guard his people. He's trying to keep them safe.
Can I just run into this guy, or do I have to... Yeah, yes. Okay, I thought I had to pop up under him. Okay.
It's the ding-dongs who put their dog in situations where they're constantly barking, create no system where the dog is looking to the master to find out when something needs to change. Because when you don't give a dog any guidance, he has to make it up, and it's going off of instinct. I was once working in someone's house for 5 hours, and their dog just barked the entire time.
No, I really get frustrated when poorly trained dogs get like either in trouble or you know like, and then it's like, well, it's not fucking his fault. Like,
yeah, it's like putting a 5-year-old in prison because their parents use them as a drug mule. It's like, no, we know who's responsible here.
Yeah, but sometimes there's nothing you do. You know, like dogs often get put down because they have shit owners. But it's like, well, at the same time, it's still a very dangerous animal, and you've got to do what you've got to do, right? So it's just sad.
But I forget what I was talking about. I had a point there. But yeah, that was a part of my philosophy change, was realizing that it's actually better for people to see the real you than a polished fake version. And that's what I was doing before that video. I was putting 100% energy into each sentence and then splicing them together to feel like a big paragraph. And I think people could instinctively feel that it was not a genuine read. And so that was like a huge change. It was like I just started talking normally and leaving in things like breaths. Imagine that.
It's almost
Mitch
like
breathes. When
people don't breathe, it's fucking weird.
Yeah, Mitch
You're
breathes.
like,
can you believe that?
This guy's not breathing. I don't know how much I trust him.
Yeah, it's like shining a light in someone's eye and it doesn't react. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, shark eyes. Somebody said that to me one time. We were talking about a guy and we're like, man, that guy was weird. And he goes, yeah, man, he's got shark eyes. And I'm like, oh, I've never had a word for when you look into someone's eyes and you realize there's like not really a human in there. Like they seem like they're just waiting for an opportunity. Like
and people get that. Like some drunk eyes are like that.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
When they get drunk, they lose their like almost like their humanity goes away.
Yeah, and I've heard crocodile eyes, which also makes sense.
Yeah, but we already have crocodile tears. You don't need more crocodiles.
We
Okay?
need to not confuse the matter.
We have see you later, crocodidator.
Crocodidator.
After a while, alligator. And then shark eyes. Yeah. Plus sharks are really
shit.
cool.
Oh shit. Oh yes.
Nice.
Woo. Talk about
Sharks,
clutch.
They're starting to believe.
Damn it!
now
Did you see the timing on that?
that
Stupid fucking flesh.
sharks don't mistakenly attack humans. Like every time they mean it.
Really?
Yeah, because
they're just big dickheads.
No, they're not big dickheads. We are. They only seem to attack human beings in situations where either you're too close to where they're breeding, or when you're scaring away the food.
Oh, so it's actually retaliatory. It's like an elephant destroying a town because they've been like fucking with his brood.
And they do it at a frequency that seems to match the way, let's say, like an underground resistance group, let's call them, would fuck with you at a certain rate to let you know that they're here and they are in fact aware of what's going on. But not all the time as to encourage us to go then like drive electric boats around and just kill them all.
Damn. Well,
I mean, that last part is entirely a perception thing. I don't know if that's true, but it's really cool to think, isn't it?
There you go. You did say it's all about perception.
Well, there's a guy who, well, there's lots of guys, but I was watching a guy who drones every one of these has an orbit.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
He drones out beaches and he watches sharks hang out next to people and just not attack them. Like they're quite aware that they don't want to eat us.
Interesting.
So when they do, it's because they meant to. And there's this weird thing about fish where people will say they don't feel stuff. They actually feel stuff more than humans. They have a lateral line down the side of them, like a sensor, like a boat sensor. That's how most of them move around in murky water. They probably feel more pain than we do.
Right,
but they don't emote it in the same way.
Can I point something out?
Yeah.
Shark or not fish? Sharks are not fish.
Shark are fish.
I don't think they're fish.
Sharks are fish.
Sharks are fish? Sharks are fish? Sharks are fish. Let's look it up.
Yeah.
One last fact check.
Is shark fish?
Just caveman language. Is shark fish?
Clade of predatory cartilaginous fish.
Cartilaginous?
Yeah. Sharks are a group of elasmobranch fish characterized by cartilaginous skeleton. So yeah, they're fish.
Oh, so they're fish. Okay.
I remember,
shark is fish.
I think it might even be in Jaws. Somebody says that's a big fish. But I mean, that's still a movie. So like...
So true.
That shark also didn't exist and was based off of a bull shark, I think. Yeah, there was a string of deaths in one spot in one summer in like the 50s or 40s maybe. It was like an unusual amount of shark attacks in one place. And that's where Jaws was inspired. But they made them a great white because they're just so much scarier looking.
Oh, fuck yeah. Almost as scary as the Megalodon.
Ooh, you did it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long I sat on that one.
All right. Well, you know what? We're definitely going to come back for some more Cocoon because
100%.
I want to get the rest of my balls.
Well, and once you finish Cocoon, you will understand why you started Cocoon. There's a lot of things that we've been talking about, like theories about this world that I've just pretended I don't know, just for fun, that will be explained by the end.
Mm-hmm. More Cocoon.
All right.